Papers that would put me in a locked memory care facility against my will, signed by a doctor I'd never met, co-signed by my own daughter. My name is Thomas Whitmore, and I'm 62 years old, with a perfectly functioning mind, despite what those documents tried to claim. Let me back up 6 months to when this nightmare started, when I still believed my daughter Rebecca loved me more than she loved my lakefront property in Muskoka. My wife Sarah died 3 years ago from ovarian cancer. Those final months, Rebecca barely visited. She was busy with her new husband Marcus and their life in Oakville. I understood. I retired early from my engineering job at Bombardier to care for Sarah full-time. After she passed, I sold our Toronto house and bought a beautiful property on Lake Muskoka, a place Sarah and I had always dreamed of retiring to together. $1.2 million for 3 acres of waterfront paradise. I figured I'd spend my remaining years there, maybe find some peace. Rebecca seemed happy for me at first. She'd bring Marcus up for weekends, and we'd barbecue on the deck, watching the sunset over the water. Marcus worked in commercial real estate, always on his phone, always making deals. He'd walk the property, commenting on the value, the location, the potential. I thought he was just making conversation. Then the visits stopped. Rebecca would text instead of calling. Short messages, busy with work. Marcus has a big project. Will come up soon. Soon never came. The first real warning sign came last November. I was in Toronto for a medical checkup, routine stuff, and decided to surprise them with a visit. I knocked on their door in Oakville. Marcus answered, and I could see Rebecca behind him in their massive kitchen, the one they'd renovated with marble countertops and Italian tile. "Thomas," Marcus said. "Not Tom like he used to call me. We weren't expecting you. I was in the area. Thought I'd drop by." He didn't move from the doorway. "Rebecca's not feeling well. Maybe call next time?" I could see Rebecca clearly. She was pouring wine, laughing on the phone with someone. She saw me, and her face changed. She ended the call quickly. "Dad?" She came to the door. "Is everything okay? I just wanted to see you. It's been months. We've been meaning to visit," she said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's just been crazy at work." Marcus put his arm around her waist, possessive. "Thomas, we actually have company coming over. Dinner party. Maybe we could do lunch next week?" I left. They never called about that lunch. Christmas came and went. Rebecca sent a text. "Sorry, Dad. Marcus's family this year. Next year for sure. Next year. Always next year." Then, in February, Rebecca showed up at my lake house unannounced. She had a key. I'd given it to her. I was in the workshop when I heard her car. I came out, happy to see her, but she wasn't alone. Marcus was with her, and so was a woman I didn't recognize. "Dad, this is Patricia Chen. She's a care consultant." Patricia smiled professionally, extending her hand. "Mr. Whitmore, your daughter is concerned about you living alone out here." "Concerned? I'm fine. I'm 62, not 92. Rebecca looked at Marcus, and he nodded slightly. "Dad, you've been forgetting things. You called me 3 times last week, asking if I was coming for Christmas. Christmas was 2 months ago." "I did not. I called you once to say hello." "You don't remember, Dad. That's the problem." Rebecca's voice cracked, but something felt rehearsed about it. "We found this place. It's a beautiful assisted living facility in Burlington, right near us. We could visit all the time. I don't need assisted living. I'm perfectly capable." "Dad, please." Rebecca pulled out her phone, showing me something. "You sent me this text at 3 in the morning. Look at it. It doesn't make sense." I looked. The text was gibberish, random letters and words. "I didn't send that. It's from your phone." "Then you faked it." The words came out harder than I intended. Marcus stood up. "Thomas, we're trying to help you. Rebecca is worried sick. You're isolated out here. No neighbors for half a kilometer. What if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency?" Patricia opened a folder. "Mr. Whitmore, I've reviewed your medical history. You're on blood pressure medication. You've had 2 minor strokes. 1 stroke, 5 years ago, minor. My doctor says I'm in excellent health." "Which doctor?" Marcus asked. Because according to Rebecca, you haven't been to your regular doctor in over a year. That was true. I'd switched doctors after moving to Muskoka, Dr. Patel in Bracebridge, but I'd been to see him just 2 months ago for my annual checkup. Clean bill of health. I have a new doctor, Dr. Patel. I can give you his number. Rebecca was crying now. Real tears or fake ones? I couldn't tell anymore. Dad, please, just come look at the facility. If you hate it, we'll drop the whole thing. But please, just look. I agreed, mostly to get them out of my house. The facility was nice enough, too nice. Private rooms, activities, nurses on staff, 24/7, and expensive. Very expensive. How much? I asked. We've handled it, Marcus said. Rebecca and we've set up a trust to cover your care. I don't need you to pay for anything. I have my pension, my savings. Dad, we want to do this. For Mom, she'd want you taken care of. That stung. Using Sarah's memory against me, I left without signing anything. The next few weeks, they intensified. Rebecca called daily. Marcus sent emails with articles about elderly people dying alone in their homes. Patricia followed up with brochures. And then came the text that changed everything. Dad, we need you to sign some papers. Power of attorney. Just in case something happens to you. It's standard estate planning. Marcus can explain it all. He's coming by tomorrow at 2. I didn't want Marcus in my house, but Rebecca insisted it was important. He showed up with a lawyer, a slick guy named Andrew Winters from a Bay Street firm. Thomas, these documents are for your protection, Andrew said, spreading papers across my kitchen table. This grants Rebecca power of attorney over your financial and medical decisions, should you become incapacitated. I'm not incapacitated. Of course not, Marcus said smoothly. This is preventative. Look, Sarah didn't have these documents in place, and you remember how complicated it was when she got sick. Rebecca had to scramble to help make decisions. This just makes everything easier if, God forbid, something happens. He was right about that. Sarah's illness had been a legal nightmare. No living will, no healthcare directives. The hospital wouldn't tell us anything because we weren't legally designated. Let me read through these, I said. Absolutely, Andrew said, but Marcus checked his watch. Actually, Thomas, Andrew has another appointment. We need to do this now. It's straightforward. Rebecca's your only child. She's the natural choice. Something felt wrong. I want my own lawyer to review this. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's going to take weeks and cost you thousands in legal fees for what's essentially a standard document. I don't care. I'm not signing anything today. Andrew gathered his papers, professional mask still in place, but Marcus wasn't hiding his frustration anymore. Fine, but when something happens to you out here, alone, and Rebecca can't help because of red tape, don't blame us. They left. I immediately called a lawyer in Huntsville, Margaret Patterson, who'd help me with the house purchase. I told her everything. Thomas, don't sign anything, she said. Let me request copies of those documents. Something doesn't feel right. 3 days later, Margaret called me back. Her voice was different. Careful. Thomas, I need you to come to my office. Today, if possible. I drove the hour to Huntsville, my hands tight on the steering wheel. Margaret's office was in an old Victorian house converted to legal offices. She had the documents spread across her desk. Thomas, this isn't a standard power of attorney. This is immediate and irrevocable. The moment you sign this, Rebecca has complete control over your finances, your property, your medical decisions. You can't revoke it without her permission. What? That can't be legal. It is if you sign it voluntarily, stating you understand the terms, which is what this does. Look here. She pointed to a clause buried in the legal language. By signing, you're declaring that you recognize your declining mental capacity and are voluntarily transferring all decision-making authority to your attorney, Rebecca Whitmore Chen, in perpetuity. Chen? Marcus's last name. She changed it, legally, 4 months ago. It's in the property records. Margaret pulled up another document on her computer. Thomas. They've also filed a preliminary application for guardianship. Do you know what that means? My mouth went dry. No, it means they're trying to have you declared legally incompetent. If they succeed, They can make all decisions for you, including where you live. They could force you into that facility in Burlington, and you'd have no say. And once you're there, they'd have control of your assets, your lake house, your savings, everything. The room spun. On what grounds? They have statements from Patricia Chen, who, by the way, is Marcus's sister, claiming you showed signs of dementia during her assessment. They have those text messages Rebecca showed you. And they have a letter from a doctor, Richard Thornton, stating, "You're in early-stage Alzheimer's and pose a danger to yourself." I've never heard of Dr. Thornton. My doctor is Dr. Patel. I know. I called Dr. Patel. He confirms you were in for a checkup 2 months ago. Cognitive function normal. No signs of dementia or Alzheimer's. He's writing a counter-statement. But Thomas, this is serious. They're trying to steal your life. I couldn't breathe. My own daughter. My Rebecca, who I'd raised alone after her mother left us when she was 10. Rebecca, who I'd put through university, whose wedding I'd paid for, who I'd supported through 2 career changes and 3 apartments. She was trying to have me declared incompetent so she could take everything. What do I do? Margaret's expression was grim. We fight. But Thomas, you need to understand something. Guardianship cases are ugly. It'll be you against your daughter in court. It'll destroy whatever relationship you have left. What relationship? She wants to lock me away. I know. But I need you to be sure, because once we start this, there's no going back. I thought about Sarah. What would she want me to do? Sarah, who'd fought cancer with every ounce of strength she had, who'd refused to give up even when the doctors said there was no hope. Sarah wouldn't want me to roll over and let myself be institutionalized so my daughter could inherit early. Let's fight. Margaret smiled. Good. First thing, we file an objection to the guardianship petition. Second, we get a full cognitive assessment from an independent neuropsychologist. Third, we gather evidence that Rebecca and Marcus are acting in bad faith, motivated by financial gain rather than concern for your welfare. Over the next week, I did exactly that. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a neuropsychologist in Toronto, put me through 6 hours of cognitive testing, memory, reasoning, spatial awareness, executive function. She said, I scored in the 92nd percentile for my age group. Sharp as a tack, she said. But the evidence gathering was harder. I needed to prove Rebecca and Marcus were after my money. Margaret suggested I look at their financial situation. I hired a private investigator, felt dirty doing it, but I needed to know. What he found stunned me. Rebecca and Marcus were drowning in debt. That house in Oakville with the marble countertops, mortgaged to the hilt, $300,000 over the purchase price. They'd refinanced twice to fund Marcus's business ventures, including a restaurant that failed after 6 months and a cryptocurrency investment that tanked. They were 6 months behind on property taxes. Their credit cards were maxed. They'd even borrowed $50,000 from Marcus's parents, who were now threatening legal action. And there was more. Marcus had been researching reverse mortgages on lakefront properties in Muskoka. He'd met with 3 different real estate agents about my property's value. He'd even started preliminary conversations with developers about subdivision potential. They weren't just trying to control me. They were trying to liquidate me. The guardianship hearing was set for April 15th, 3 weeks away. Margaret prepared me for what was coming. Rebecca would testify that I was incompetent. She'd have that fake doctor, Thornton, backing her up. She'd have the text messages, probably more that she'd manufactured. She'd cry and say she was doing this out of love. You need to be perfect in court, Margaret warned. Articulate, calm, rational. Any sign of confusion, anger, or instability, and they'll use it against you. The day before the hearing, Rebecca called. I almost didn't answer. Dad, it's me. I know. Dad, please, drop this. Let us help you. Marcus and I, we just want what's best. What's best is my lake house and my bank account. I know about your debts, Rebecca. I know about Marcus's failed businesses. I know you're desperate. Silence. Then, who told you that? Does it matter? I know the truth. You're trying to steal from me. Steal? Dad, we're trying to save you. You're sick. You don't see it, but we do. You need care. I need my daughter to stop lying to me. I need you to remember that I'm your father, not your retirement plan. How dare you? Her voice changed, hardened. After everything we've done for you, coming up to that isolated house, dealing with your moods, your paranoia, we've been patient, but you're making this so much harder than it needs to be. Tomorrow, the judge is going to see what we see. A confused old man who can't take care of himself. And when he grants us guardianship, when we move you into care, you'll thank us eventually. I'll see you in court, Rebecca. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Just a hearing room, really. Judge Morrison presiding, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Rebecca and Marcus sat with Andrew Winters. Patricia Chen was there too, waiting to testify. I sat with Margaret, feeling very alone. Rebecca went first. She wore a conservative dress, minimal makeup, and she cried exactly when she needed to. She talked about finding me confused, about the gibberish texts, about my isolation. She said she was terrified I'd die alone on that property with no one to help me. I love my father, she said, voice breaking. I just want him safe. Andrew called Dr. Thornton, who testified via video link from what looked like a home office. He said he'd evaluated me based on statements from family members and medical records. His conclusion, early-stage dementia, likely Alzheimer's, requiring immediate intervention. Margaret stood. Dr. Thornton, when did you personally examine Mr. Whitmore? I've reviewed extensive documentation. That's not what I asked. When did you personally, physically examine him? In cases like this, a personal examination isn't always so. Never. You've never met my client, never spoken to him, never examined him in any way, yet you're recommending he be declared incompetent. What's your relationship to Marcus Chen? Thornton's expression flickered. I don't. You went to university together. You were roommates. You're in business together, aren't you? You run a consulting firm that helps families secure guardianship for elderly relatives. Families who pay you $20,000 per successful case. The judge leaned forward. Is this true, Dr. Thornton? Your Honor, I maintain professional objectivity. You're dismissed. Judge Morrison was not pleased. Mr. Winters, do you have any other witnesses? Patricia testified next, describing her assessment of me. But Margaret was ready. She pulled out Patricia's social media, posts about her brother Marcus's financial troubles, posts about how they were finally going to get what we deserve. The tide was turning. I could see it in the judge's face, in the way Andrew Winters kept checking his watch, in the way Marcus whispered urgently to Rebecca. Then it was my turn. Margaret asked me simple questions. My name, age, address, what I'd eaten for breakfast, the Prime Minister's name, the date. I answered calmly, clearly. Then she asked me to explain why I believed Rebecca and Marcus were acting in bad faith. I pulled out the financial reports, the debts, the real estate consultations, the research on my property's value. I walked the judge through everything, methodically, like the engineer I'd been for 35 years. Numbers don't lie. Your Honor, I said, I loved my daughter. I still love her. But she's chosen money over me. She's chosen her husband's financial problems over her father's dignity. I'm not incompetent. I'm not confused. I'm being targeted by my own child because I have something she wants. And I refuse to be a victim. Judge Morrison took off her glasses. Miss Whitmore Chen, Mr. Chen, approached the bench. They did. The judge spoke quietly, but I heard enough. Words like fraudulent, elder abuse, potential criminal charges. Rebecca went pale. Marcus tried to argue, but the judge cut him off. The petition for guardianship is denied, Judge Morrison declared. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full investigation into Dr. Richard Thornton's practices. Mr. Whitmore, I'm granting you a restraining order against your daughter and son-in-law, effective immediately. They are not to contact you or come within 500 meters of your property. This court is adjourned. I'd won, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like I'd lost my daughter all over again. Margaret squeezed my shoulder. You did the right thing. Did I? Outside the courthouse, Rebecca caught up with me. Marcus tried to hold her back, but she shook him off. Dad, please. We can fix this. It was a misunderstanding. Don't. I couldn't look at her. You tried to have me declared insane so you could take my home. You manufactured evidence. You lied to a judge. That's not a misunderstanding, Rebecca. That's betrayal. Dad, I gave you everything. After your mother left, I raised you alone. I worked double shifts to pay for your education. I went without so you could have. And this is how you repay me? By trying to lock me away? I don't care what you needed. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked away. Rebecca called after me, but I didn't turn around. The next weeks were strange, quiet. I'd gotten used to the isolation at the lake house, but now it felt different, heavier. I'd saved myself, but I'd lost the only family I had left. Then one morning, I got an email from Margaret. Thomas, thought you'd want to know. The Law Society is investigating Andrew Winters. Turns out you weren't his first client caught up in a guardianship scam. There are 6 other cases, all elderly clients with significant assets, all represented by children with financial problems. Some weren't as lucky as you. I called her. What happened to them? 3 are in facilities now, minimal contact with family. Their children control everything. One woman's son sold her house the day after he got guardianship. She never saw a penny. She thought she was going for a temporary stay at a nice place near her grandchildren. She's been there 3 years. My stomach turned. That almost happened to me, but it didn't. You fought back. And because you did, we can help the others. 2 families have already reached out. They want you to testify about what happened, help their cases. I testified. At 3 different hearings over the next month, I told my story, showed my evidence. 2 of those cases got reversed. The 3rd is still pending, but the judge is sympathetic. Something else happened too. I started attending a support group at the community center in Huntsville, Families in Conflict, run by a counselor named David Park. 15 people, all dealing with betrayal from family members. Some, like me, had been targeted for their assets. Others were estranged for different reasons. But we all understood that particular pain of losing someone you loved to their worst impulses. One woman, Catherine Brennan, 71, became a good friend. Her son had tried something similar to what Rebecca and Marcus attempted. She'd caught it earlier than I had, but the damage to her relationship with her son was just as severe. Do you miss her? Catherine asked one evening. We were sitting on my dock, watching the sunset over Lake Muskoka. Every day. But I miss the Rebecca I thought she was, the daughter who loved me. That person might never have existed. Maybe I just wanted to believe she did. I struggle with that too. Was my son always capable of this, and I just didn't see it? Or did something change him? Does it matter? No, I suppose it doesn't. What matters is we protected ourselves. We set boundaries. That's not cruel, Thomas. That's survival. In June, I got a letter from Rebecca. Not an email. Not a text. A handwritten letter, forwarded by Margaret, because Rebecca couldn't contact me directly under the restraining order. Dad, I know you probably won't read this. I know I don't deserve for you to, but I need to say it anyway. I'm sorry, not sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I tried to do. Marcus and I, we were desperate. The debts, the pressure, it consumed us. And when we looked at your property, your savings, it seemed like the answer to everything. We convinced ourselves we were helping you, that you needed care, that we were doing the right thing, but we weren't. We were selfish and cruel. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did. I understand what I lost. I'm getting divorced. Marcus's parents hired a lawyer to recoup their loan, and everything unraveled. I moved back to Toronto, to a tiny apartment I can barely afford. I'm in therapy, trying to understand how I became someone who would hurt you like that. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out. I know you're happy at the lake. Margaret told me you've made friends, that you're volunteering with other families facing what we put you through. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. You always did. I'm sorry I tried to take it from you. I'm sorry for everything. Rebecca. I read it 3 times. Sitting in my workshop, surrounded by Sarah's woodworking tools that I'd learned to use, building birdhouses and furniture and trying to keep my hands busy. Catherine was over for dinner that night. I showed her the letter. "What do you think?" I asked. "I think she's sorry. I also think sorry doesn't undo what she did." "Do I respond? Do you want to?" I didn't know. Part of me wanted my daughter back, the little girl who used to help me make pancakes on Sunday mornings. The teenager who cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak. The young woman who danced with me at her wedding, whispering, "I love you, Dad," in my ear. But that person tried to have me declared insane. That person manufactured evidence and lied to a judge. That person chose money over me. "I don't think I can," I finally said. "Maybe one day, but not now. The wound's still too fresh." "That's okay. Forgiveness isn't mandatory, Thomas. Especially not when someone tried to steal your freedom." I wrote back, anyway. Not to Rebecca directly, but to Margaret, to forward if she saw fit. "Rebecca, I got your letter. I believe you're sorry. I also believe that sorry isn't enough. What you did wasn't a mistake. It was calculated, planned, executed over months. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You forged medical evidence. You conspired to steal my home. That's not something I can forgive with a letter. Maybe one day we can have some kind of relationship, but it won't be the relationship we had. That's gone. You killed it when you chose Marcus's debts over my dignity. I hope you get the help you need. I hope you learn from this. But I need you to understand that actions have consequences. You don't get to shatter someone's life and trust and expect them to piece it back together for you. I'm rebuilding my life here in Muskoka. I have friends, purpose, peace. I'm helping other families avoid what you tried to do to me. In a strange way, you've given me that. A mission, a reason to keep fighting, keep living. So, thank you, I suppose. But don't expect more than that. I don't hate you, Rebecca, but I don't trust you either. And without trust, we have nothing. Thomas, Margaret called me after she forwarded it. That was brave. Was it the right thing? There is no right thing in situations like this. There's just what you can live with. I could live with it. In fact, I was living better than I had in years. The lake house became a haven, not just for me, but for the support group. We'd meet there monthly, sharing stories, strategies, healing. Some brought their lawyers, some brought their therapists, all brought their pain, and together, we made it lighter. I sold Sarah's wedding ring, the one I'd kept in a drawer since she died. Used the money to set up a fund with Margaret's firm. Legal assistance for elderly people facing guardianship proceedings. We called it Sarah's Shield. The first grant went to an 83-year-old man whose nephew was trying to do to him what Rebecca tried to do to me. We stopped it before it got to court. That felt like winning. In September, Catherine and I drove to Vancouver Island. Just a trip. Two friends who understood each other's scars. We stayed in a little cabin near Tofino, walked the beaches, talked about everything and nothing. It wasn't romantic. Neither of us wanted that. But it was companionship. It was proof that you could lose family and still find connection. On the flight home, Catherine asked, "Any regrets?" "About what?" "Fighting back. Taking Rebecca to court. Cutting her off." I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, because if I hadn't, where would I be? In some facility in Burlington, drugged and docile, while Marcus sold my property to pay his debts. Rebecca would visit once a month, pretending she'd saved me, and I'd have lost myself completely. At least this way, I kept my dignity. I kept my mind. I kept my life. Me too, Catherine said quietly. Some people think we're heartless, turning our backs on our children. Those people haven't had their children turn on them first. The plane descended into Toronto. Below, I could see the city spreading out. Millions of people with their own complicated families, their own betrayals and loyalties. Somewhere down there, Rebecca was living her life. Divorced, broke, trying to understand how she became someone capable of what she'd done. I hoped she figured it out. I really did. But that was her journey, not mine. Mine was waiting for me on Lake Muskoka, in a house I'd fought to keep, surrounded by people who'd fought similar battles. We were building something there. A community of survivors. People who refused to be victims. who chose themselves when family wouldn't. I'd lost my daughter, but I'd found myself. And in the end, that had to be enough. Because I was 62 years old with decades left to live, and I'd be damned if I'd spend them regretting that I protected my own life from someone who tried to steal it, even if that someone was my own child. The restraining order expires in 2 years. Maybe then, if Rebecca has truly changed, we can try again. Start small. Coffee in a public place. Supervised, careful, cautious. Or maybe not. Maybe some betrayals are too deep. Maybe some relationships, once shattered, can't be put back together. I don't know yet. What I do know is this. I'm here. I'm free. I'm surrounded by friends who understand. And every morning, I wake up in my own home, in my own bed, making my own choices. That's victory enough.